But first, the damage was devastating beyond anything to hit the National Capital Region since that 1998 ice storm. Schools were closed and government workers told to stay home, even as power was restored to most of the city. The first and hardest hit area was the community of Dunrobin, west of Ottawa. The MP for the area is the Public Safety Parliamentary Secretary as well. Karen McCrimmon joins me in the studio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, John.
You were an Air Force squadron commander. You've seen a lot of devastation from the air. What does it compare to this?
This was really personal. And the devastation was so surgical. There'd be a house that was standing and the houses on either side were gone. You know, we kind of tracked it. People paid attention. And I was one of those, I was at the Carp Fair at the time. So we got the warnings and we took them seriously, and we took down our booth at the fair and packed up and left. And I'm really glad to see a lot of people did the same thing. There was so little warning though. Even at the fair, when we got the warning, we kind of looked up at the sky and said, it doesn't look so bad. What's that? And yet it hit probably 15 or 20 minutes later.
Wow. Now, so did it work? I mean, could you not have expected longer lead time? And who's responsible for that?
I think that's a federal government responsibility, but I think we had been under a watch for most of the day, right? So the warning is when you can spot it on radar, when you see a little hook forming in the thunderstorm returns. And I think that's what they saw. And coming down from the north, they reacted quite quickly, I think, and I think it saved lives.
It's fairly new. I mean, it's new to get these warnings, right? So I guess it's proved that it at least gives some warning, which has got to be comfort to a lot of people, because there were no deaths, which is amazing.
No, you're right. And seeing the destruction, that there were no deaths, unbelievable. And I think now we can go back and we can find what really worked, what would make it even better, how do we refine the process. And so it was something that we needed to learn. I know the federal government has engaged with both the provincial and territorial governments, because we need to improve our emergency management, our preparedness, and that's something we are working on right now.
You know, with climate change, they say these extreme weather patterns are going to become more commonplace. What do you think could be done to make this crisis handled better, even though generally it's getting pretty much rave reviews for the response of everybody?
I think what we saw was the three level of government working really tightly together. Most of it was the municipal government. They're the first responders, your police and fire and paramedics and all that stuff. They had a plan in place and they made it happen. The provincial government stepped up and said, whatever you need, we're there, and we did exactly the same thing. Both the Premier and the Prime Minister called the mayor and said, whatever you need, just let us know, we're there for you. And I think that gave people a lot of confidence. And they have dealt with this so well. Right. And I think because they had confidence that they weren't going to be left hanging on their own.
I'm curious, I'll put you on the spot on this one, but there are a lot of examples of how the community rallied to help those affected by this. Have you got a favorite?
I think the young volunteer firefighter who came in with his team to go to work. And he was assigned with his team, with his crew. And he was working on looking after other people, and his home had been hit.
Wow.
So he was just focused on doing his job, looking with his team and doing the best he can do with the community. And I think when I sit in the meetings and listen to the people, they're worried about each other. You know, they said, I'm fine, but what about my neighbor? Yeah. And that kind of tight-knit community, it really makes a difference in these kind of situations.
Yep, everyone comes together in times of stress and disaster, so it was quite amazing. There's a lot of stories. You'll see these on the newscasts that come. You've seen them already. Karen McCrimmon, thanks for coming on. We appreciate you taking the time. I know you've been a busy time.